what made you take that leap to start the podcast and publish on your first episode? What was the deciding factor, and how was that journey?
So the evolution is yeah, it's a little bit up and downs, and it was the start of it was um I listen to a lot of podcasts myself when it comes to not dog training, actually, because I started with CrossFit in 2017 or something like that, and so I listen to a lot of podcasts when it comes to training and nutrition and stuff like that, when it comes to people. And after a couple of years, we had some issues. I was the president of the Swedish Weight Club, and we had some issues to get new people and members, and the economy was quite strained at that time for the club. And so me and my friend, we had an idea that, well, maybe let's try this with a podcast, because where he worked at the time, they had a podcast studio at that place, and I was there. That was the place where I went every other month, pretty much, to, or even more, when it, some times of year of the year I were there a little bit more often. It was 2 hours from me, so but anyways, so we discussed it a while, and we recorded an episode in that professional studio. We have no idea where that episode is at the moment. That just disappeared, and it was, we did, I think it was 2019, we did that episode, and we had something technical that was really an issue, and yeah, up and down, and we kind of put that on ice, and tried to find some other technical way to solve this. And it took a couple of years, but then during the pandemic, at least I, in my work at the time, had a lot of Zoom and Teams meetings, and we realized this is the way we're going to do it. And it was still a mix of getting the word out about the sport, because I felt that there wasn't enough media circulating when it came to weight pulling. And also we wanted to get some more members for the weight pull club. At that moment, I think this was 21 or 22. Were no longer the president of the club, but I still wanted to get more people to join the sport. So that was one of the reasons. And as I said earlier, we wanted to get all the information that we had on one place. We thought that we might do 15, 20 episodes regarding training and stuff like that, and but now the latest episode I released here just a couple of days ago, that was the number 112. So yeah, it's been a couple more episodes, but and the podcast have evolved a lot during these years. uh, so now it's more of a interviewing podcast when it comes to the content that I release publicly. I have a Patreon as well, where we have some sponsors, and I do a little more, or I have started a small series there just for the patrons, and that are more focused on the shows here in Scandinavia, or Sweden and Norway at the moment, when it comes to data, especially when it comes to those shows. I have a database with all the results from 2008 here in the Nordics. So I have a lot of data when it comes to the dogs and the shows. So I do a small pre-show episode and talk about what the track is like and what's the records and stuff like that. But otherwise, it's an interview show now. But from the beginning, we talked about training, how to do it, and we talked about the rule set. We went through the rules of the EWPL, and um, at some point we went over to do like recaps of all the shows. After each show, we had an episode and we talked about the show and how the dogs were doing and the results. And well, let's say it like this: we got some mixed reactions when it comes to that. We have had some controversies during the years. I said some things that people don't really like, and I try not to do that at the moment. It's hard. I don't I don't really like to not speak freely, but in some areas I might need to think about how I say stuff. Um, Especially when it comes to my native language, it's easier to just um, spill out the words when it comes to Swedish. But I think overall now we've found, or I have found, the way I want to do the podcast to highlight the people that are doing the sport all over the world, um, and at the same time try to have some episodes where actually discuss some issues or take up rule sets, how they differ and stuff like that. But at the moment, it's evolved into um solely interviewing type of podcast, and I had no idea it would take that route actually. But I really like it. I've been speaking to a lot of nice people, and I have a lot of people I want to talk to still. So it's a hobby that has become bigger than I first thought it would be.
Yeah, same here. I didn't, I thought I would just talk to other enthusiasts, and I was sharing my learning process about learning about the deeper knowledge base on genetics and different breeds that hadn't heard of before until my research and all of that. But then, yeah, it's evolved into something a lot bigger for me, and it's become a huge passion of mine. Not only in the dog world, but definitely in other worlds.
Yeah,
Learning about other um, people's passions and what got them to hit record and publish.
yeah,
That's been really kind of a driving force in my mind now. It's just now finding the time and with daily life
yeah.
and responsibility. So kind of talk about that. How have you juggled that, and what are some of the things that you learned in what, because for me, keeping consistent has
Yeah.
always been the hardest.
Yeah, that is the hardest part. I try to have an episode every other week, but it's really hard to make that happen. It's always stressful the last couple of days, and sometimes I get a couple of episodes in recorded in a short while, and then I can schedule them. But it's hard to make it happen in with the life puzzle as well. I don't have any dogs at the moment, and I'm fortunate to be able to work from home at least 3 or 4 days a week, and that's really good. But at the same time, I have a 1 year old daughter over here, and I have a son on the way. My fourth child in will be born in a couple of months. So, and I have a home that's in big need of renovation. It's the hard part, but somehow I think if it wasn't a passion, I would have um, ended the podcast a long time ago. Uh, but this gives me so much joy, uh, even though I don't have many listeners. You know, the I have a couple of episodes with breed specialists, especially when it comes to the Staffordshire Bull Terrier and the American Staffordshire Bull Terriers. That's that have a lot of views, but otherwise, it's when it comes to that, it's interesting that I still going because I get like somewhere between 20 and 200 views an episode, and that's all. And that's nothing. That's not even all the weight pullers in Sweden. So um but it's I still find a lot of enjoyment in doing it, and it needs a lot of planning, though. But it's nice to. I'm sitting in my basement now. This is my home office where I work all day, otherwise as well. So, um, but yeah, at this moment, it's cost a lot of money. I bought computers and microphones and a camera that I can't use because I done something wrong with it. So, but yeah, I think I really like it, and it's when 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 I was competing, 2017, 18, 19, the most, I also live streamed all the events. So somewhere I think the interest in creating content has been there a while. I'm really bad at it. Yeah, otherwise yeah, I think it's hard. And sometimes I ask one of my older children, is this a good short, and they just laugh at me. This is so uninteresting, uh, for a 15-year-old to look at. But I think my audience is not the young guys, but hopefully hopefully there's enough information now when you look at my YouTube channel, or you go to my Spotify, and you can find a lot of information about weight pulling, and what's the sport is about and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, I would like to be better at creating content that makes more of a buzz, so more people can um, find the sport, because that's in the end the main driver for me. I want more people to do weight pulling. I love the sport. I think it's a great sport. I think it's a sport that um, deserves more audience, bigger audiences, and a real place in the dog world. Not something that's underground or fringe. It's a really good dog sport, and it could, with some tweaks, could be a really good spectator sport as well.
No, I agree with you, um, and that to me is kind of the highlight of what I was trying to accomplish too. Is shed a good light on the dog breeding community, because um, even before I knew a little bit more than like I do now, I always thought the adopt don't shop was pretty short sighted. So,
Mm,
and there was a lot of pitfalls to that, and I always knew, because I've always had purebred dogs, or where I went to the breeders, uh, where they lived and where they bred the dogs, and you know
yeah,
I always had a better feeling in that world than than I did with the adopt world, because I saw the pitfalls with that.
Yeah,
But now I definitely know why I feel that way I do, and I feel justified. So that was my thing,
yeah,
was sharing that and trying to shed a good light, like you're trying to get more eyeballs on it and promote the sport, and promote the people that are behind the sport. And and so yeah, I appreciate that, and that's why when I saw your podcast for the first time, I was like, oh, I love this. And why hasn't there been more shows dedicated to the sport? And then it even made me start thinking, like, wow, in Sweden, in the Nordic countries,
yeah,
you'd think it'd be coming from like somewhere in the Midwest of the United States, or
yeah,
somewhere the South or whatever. Here's this guy from Sweden promoting European weight pulling, and yeah, so yeah, that was really cool too
yeah.
to see that.
Yeah, a funny part is when I started, I interviewed Emmanuel Funnyman, like it's almost a year ago, and just a couple of weeks after they released their first episode of their podcast, and now in the start of this year, Brian Hosfeld, the Waypool guru, he released a podcast, but it's only on Facebook at the moment. But still, it's um, and those were the places, as you said, where it should originated from. I think, and it's quite interesting that it was uh, a bearded guy from Sweden that did the first Waypool podcast.
Yeah, good stuff. Talk. One of the things that is really interests me, much to the chagrin of my pocketbook and my wife hating me for this, but I've really gotten into the gear side of things, and I really study it. And now that I started my second page, which is still in its infancy, really, of me creating content for it, I've been exploring my journey with gear and in all the things that we use. And this is a question I love to ask people, because again, I don't know a lot about tech, but I what I do know, I love it, and I have a lot of it. So what kind of compute, are you a PC Mac guy, and what made you go to that direction?
So I've been a PC guy since 33 years ago. I bought my first PC as a 13-year-old guy, loving computers at that time. Always done my entire life. Yeah, one of my favorite things is Excel. So I've been a PC guy pretty much my whole life. But a year and a half ago, I bought my first Mac, a small MacBook Air. Because I've been using an iPhone for ages, and I talked to a friend of mine, and she works in a retailer, and we discussed this during a couple of months, and I found that the Mac would be the best for me. I used the early episodes are on an old PC that I had. It's been a hard transition over to the Mac, but I love it at the moment. It's yeah, that's that has evolved a lot of things when it comes to the podcast, at least. In my work, I work on a PC, so it's hard to do the switch sometimes, but it's very easy when it comes to the phone and everything, to just airdrop between the phone and the computer. That's a very easy way for me to transfer, especially uh, pictures and stuff like that. Yeah,
I have both now, of
yeah,
course. I got my I've been a Mac person for about 10 years, and so I got my first PC in 10 years, and I did a lot of research, and I got a good laptop, but I can't live without the
No.
Mac. Like, I love using my PC, and it's actually been my primary personal thing that I love using, because there's certain things that the PCs can do that Mac can't, that make it a little that I like. But when it comes to content creation and video editing and just the seamless with my phone, and I'm doing this episode today on my tablet because
Yeah.
my hands broke and doing a computer. Um so yeah, I now that I've got both, I can't don't think I could go
No.
back to not having both. But so I've been really loving my PC, but I know the limitations of PC
Yeah.
compared to Mac. So if you're gonna have one, you're gonna have to have the Mac, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So yeah, you made the right choice. Um, n- Talk about cameras
Yeah.
again. This is what are you using for camera, and how come?
So this is a rabbit hole, and I've been down it for several years. In the beginning, I used a standard Logitech webcam. That worked fine because the computer I had didn't have that much capacity, um, and well, yeah, that worked fine. Now I actually use my iPhone. I have an iPhone 15 Pro Max that I use as the camera at the moment. Uh, Last summer I bought a Sony, oh, a Sony camera. I've been trying to use that, but there's something, I'm doing something wrong, and I need to find the time to make sure that I know how to use it correctly when it comes to these type of situations. I had it with me down to Italy and filmed a lot for that. At that show, but it's something new for me, and it I haven't been able to put the time into to do it really good. So maybe that was $1,500 unnecessary equipment, but yeah, I think I can use it eventually in a good way. But at the moment I'm using my phone as the camera. Yeah.
I'd be comfortable if there were if uh, camcorders were still the thing, because I had experiences with those when I was younger. But yeah, the DSLR world is a little scary for
Yeah.
me. Uh, I I bought the Insta360
Yeah.
Link webcam, and I've been happy with that. And then I recently purchased the Hollyland uh, Lyra camera.
Okay.
It's their new iteration, and then has a bigger sensor 4K camera, and I've been happy with that as
Yeah.
well. So it gives me a good enough picture where for my use case now. But and then I'm in kind of thinking about getting in more into the phone world, as far as having a Android and iPhones, and so I'm thinking about getting a phone, and then an Android, and then using my if I'm using my PC, I'll use the Android to film, and if I'm using the Mac, I'll use my iPhone to film.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking about doing that. So that I got to keep that a secret. So hopefully my wife doesn't watch, because
Yeah.
but yeah, these are all things like that I think about. So it's really interesting that you're using your phone, and I interviewed a guy on my other podcast, and I watch his stuff continuously, and that's all he
Yeah.
uses is his iPhone. And when he interviews somebody who has like a DSLR camera, or whoever, or somebody else like that, and you compare the two pictures, and his is just as good
Yeah.
and sometimes better. So, and you're getting a fantastic
Yeah,
image from my viewpoint. And the yeah, it's just it's almost like I wouldn't be able. I would have thought it was a DSLR,
yeah.
you know.
I
But
I've noticed that
yeah,
it's way easier, at least, to get a good picture with the iPhone, because everything is automatic. When it comes to
yeah,
the DSLR, you need to know what you're doing. Yeah, and I don't know that. So I had a 2 episodes, I think, with the camera, and I didn't like the the color tones and everything when it came to the final product. And also I've been having a big issue with lighting, um, and that's really hard. I like this kind of lighting now, a little bit softer and stuff like that, because I'm sitting in a totally white room. And yeah, and found out that that's an issue as well. I had some curtains here to try to soften it up a little bit, but it's still, um, yeah, it makes a lot of difference when it comes to the lighting. And I think that the phone is, the cameras, they are good enough when it comes to this
yeah,
short range.
yeah,
So yeah,
yep, yeah, yeah, for sure. Talk about your journey with microphones. Now, I've been down the rabbit hole. I've actually worked with a company who sent me out microphones to review for my new channel, and I leveraged my dog podcast to be able to to get that done. So I've explored the microphone world a lot.
yeah.
I've sold microphones and I've bought microphones, and I think I have right now 10.
Oh,
Well, maybe 12 if you count the wireless,
yeah.
like what I'm using now. Yeah. So what made you choose? What kind of microphone did you have, and what made you choose that one?
So in the beginning, I only used the headset microphone like this. That's the only thing I used in the first episodes. And then, I think after like 6 months or so, something like that, I bought this. It's a, I'm not, Röde, it's called in Swedish. Rode microphone, and actually I chose it only because of, uh, in the beginning, because of the price, and it was just plug and play, and I really like that. And my we have a retailer here in Sweden that's, um, the guys, whatever store you go to, they are really really knowledgeable, and they recommended it as well. So, and I love this mic. It's been very very easy. Nowadays, I changed jobs a year ago, and now I'm only recording it back home. But with my former job, I traveled a lot. So, and this phone, or this mic, was really really easy to bring with me, and with good audio, even if I was in a hotel or something like that. So, um, I've been using this for a couple of years now, and I'm quite happy with it. Um, it's easy, and it's like, in US it's like $200, I think, something like that.
Yeah, I just looked it up. I because I could see it's the Rode NT
Yeah,
USB condenser microphone.
yeah,
Yeah. Um yeah, yeah, I looked at that as well when I'm Rode's a good brand. I have a Rode wireless
okay,
mic. Um this one's just easier to use because the other one's doesn't have the magnet and you have to clip it on, but it's better than this. So yeah, I got a definitely a nice feeling about Rode
yeah,
products. They make some good stuff, and that's what I've done. I started out with the USB C mic. Well, first off, I just used my iPhone to my iPad. I didn't even have a computer
oh,
when I first started.
yeah,
So I would do everything by phone, whether it be through Messenger if it was somebody overseas, or by cell phone if it was somebody in the States, and I would just put my phone up to my my iPad and I'd go into the voice recording app and I just hit record and it's pretty harsh. You look my first 70 episodes or 80 100 episodes are pretty harsh was for the audio, but it does the
Yeah.
trick. Then I got a USB-C mic where I just plug it into the computer. And then I started doing research and I got comfortable with using a microphone. Then I got the XLR mics. And so now I have everything. But I do like the USB-C mics
Yeah.
because it's just, you could just plug it in and forget about it and go. And nobody like everybody putting in a lot of money into microphones to people like us who just get what works and works
Yeah.
well. You could barely tell the difference, and somebody who's going to watch our show isn't going to tell the difference, and they're not even going to care. You
No.
know what I mean? So yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and it makes a lot of difference. The first, like, yeah, a year ago I switched from doing all the recordings via Zoom, and I switched to Riverside, it's called, and then yeah, and that made a lot of difference when it comes to the audio, because you have some AI tools that helps you level everything out, because I don't have the knowledge to do that really good, or the time to get the knowledge, so that helps a lot. Uh, there are some downsides with that as well, for sure, but it's yeah, that made a lot of difference, because I can see that a lot of the guys that I talk to, they don't have a, yeah, they have their phone, that's all. um yeah, so the levels are hard to get to be on the same, yeah, for me and the guests. So that that platform helps me a lot to not need, that I don't need to do the audio editing by myself, but yeah.
yeah. What do you use for editing? I use CapCut, but I've been trying to learn a little bit of Final Cut lately.
Yeah,
Final Cut Pro.
so I use DaVinci Resolve for that.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow, you're much more skilled than I am.
It's well, it's yeah, you can do a lot in it, but it's hard. Yeah. uh and yeah, but that's I started with that a little, yeah, maybe 1 year and 1 year and a half ago. I'm still learning every day, so but it's and I chose that because there it's free, so I didn't need to put any money down for that one. But it's advanced in some sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been learning a little bit of the Final Cut, and it's more advanced than
Yeah.
CapCut, but of course not as advanced as DaVinci. And I'm still learning and still trying to get my bearings on that. But definitely, if you're able to, that's why I tell people if you're able to work your way through it. Yeah, DaVinci Resolve seems really um, all inclusive, and it gives you a lot of flexibility to level up your quality and all
Yeah.
that. So yeah, yeah. Um, is there if is there a piece of equipment that you don't have now that you're thinking about getting, and what would that be?
Yeah, so I'm thinking about getting. I have a ring light that's aimed a little bit to the wall and get some reflection back, because the glasses, yeah, they
Yes.
screw everything up. I can't have
Yeah,
direct
yeah,
light on me. So maybe another light. I bought a rig to hold. My screen and my camera that bolted into the wall here. So I bought that this winter to get rid of some vibrations when I move. Uh, but yeah, another light at the moment. That I'm looking at some other stuff, because I, a dream. Let's say a dream of mine is to live stream events. And then I would need some more cameras and some other stuff to link everything together. Um, and there's a lot of stuff like that out there, but it's a lot of money, unfortunately. So, um, yeah, but nothing directly for the podcast. I think I'm quite content at the moment with the
Yeah.
equipment. Yeah.
Talk us through from doing the interview to recording and all that, then to the editing process. What's that workflow like for you?
Yeah, so it's a little bit different from episode to episode due to what kind of internet connection the guests have.
Yeah,
So, but typically,
exactly.
I let Riverside AI do its magic first, and that takes a couple of hours typically. So after the interview, I just leave everything on, and it can do its magic. And then depending on how much time I have before I need to release the episode, I typically sit late at night when everybody falls asleep here, and listen through and watch through the episode. So the latest one I had with a Swedish veterinary, she didn't have any headphones, so we had an echo, so that I needed to edit it out. So that took, yeah, 3 days or something like that, uh, to do that really good, or as good as I could do it. And I do the main editing when it comes to sound in Riverside, um, to get it out from there, and then I export from there, and then I, depending on how much extra material I have for the episode, or if I have, yeah, it depends a little bit. But then I import everything into DaVinci, and I add my intro and outro, and try to add some um pictures, or movies, or clips, or anything into the episode. And it depends a little bit how invested I am in the episode, how much I put in there, or how interesting the episode is. Some episodes are so interesting, and that I feel that we need to have some more video, or pictures in the video to help the episode. And I've in the beginning I had most of my um, not views, but the most audience, they listen to the podcast via Spotify. But now the main audience is on YouTube, so I think I need to add a little more visual effects, or not effects, but visual with pictures and clips, and everything like that, to make it a little more interesting. Um, so once I went over to Riverside, my editing time went down quite drastically, actually, especially when it comes to shorter clips, or stuff on Instagram, and on what's it called, TikTok, and stuff like that. Those are pretty much auto generated by Riverside, and that helps me a lot when it comes to that type of content.
So you and I have with our subject matters being just a small little tiny
Yeah,
niche, we really have to push hard and not worry too much about the views, because
yeah,
like I had one interview that had like 1,200 views, and then all of a sudden, like 4 years after I did that interview, all of a sudden it hit into the algorithm, and now it's got like 40,000
yeah,
views. So and that was 4 years after I did the interview.
Yeah.
So I kind of look at it that
Yeah.
way. We're building a library, and something's going to hit eventually, and
Yeah.
it may be a 3-year-old interview.
Yeah. Yeah, and I can see that as well. I interviewed a well-known Staffordshire Bull Terrier personality, um, 2.5 years ago, and that episode gets views every week. Yeah,
Yeah.
all, and it just keeps adding, so to speak. But I can see a big difference when it comes to my Swedish episodes compared to the English ones. And of course, the audience for the English ones are way bigger. So they have like 5 or 6 times as many views as the Swedish ones,
Mm-hmm.
which is not, yeah, that's expected, but it's,
Yeah.
yeah, it's interesting, either way. It's hard to break through the noise, um,
Yeah.
and I think sometimes we have this long episode format is,
Yeah.
I think it's hard for, especially on YouTube, because
Yeah.
all the good clips are 5 to 10 minutes when it comes to views.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Guys like you and I will stay true, and
yeah,
we'll build it up organically. Yeah.
yeah. And I wish
Yeah.
that more would subscribe. Yeah, I think I have like 25% of the viewers that are
Yeah.
subscribing. That's all. So that would be awesome if there were more that subscribe to the channel. So, but at the same time, I haven't done anything to get more subscribers. I don't talk about it, and I've been thinking about
Yeah.
adding a little, 20 seconds or 10 seconds something after my
Yeah.
intro, to do that. But it's, yeah, I'm not really sure if that's the way I want to do it.
Yeah, you got to find your own voice, and I'll tell you what, it'll be 8 years this October since I've been doing it, and I'm still finding my voice, and I'm still learning,
Yeah,
and it's just because I'm not consistent, and I can't give it the 1,000% other channels can give it, because they don't have a job or whatever.
exactly.
Um, you know what I mean? So this is my retirement fund,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And if I can get my money back and be break even every month, I'd be happy.
yeah,
And if I was able to make a few extra shekels every month, I'd be really
yeah,
happy. You know what I mean? But yeah, this is I'm going to continue to do it for the long haul.
yeah,
So, and I think you will too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the moment, I'm glad if it can cover, if I can make enough to cover my fixed cost with the podcast each year. And I'm there at the moment when it comes to subscriptions and stuff like that. But all the gear is just, yeah, it will, yeah, I need to do this with the same gear for another 10 years to break even when it comes to that. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, same here. I'm way in the hole.
yeah,
And I do need to, and that's another thing for smaller creators that I've found is leveraging the existing audience you have into paid subscriptions, and just in a way that's how you help the podcast,
yeah,
and you help it grow and continue, and to keep some content free, because
yeah.
and so yeah, I have a subscription based as well, but I haven't leveraged it as much as I should.
No, no,
Yeah. Yeah.
I've decided to, all the main episodes, they will always be free. I have them always a week earlier on my Patreon, but only
Yeah.
in audio. So the video
Mm.
is always fresh for everybody. But
Mhm.
now I decided that I will do one and or two special, like, yeah, or episodes, not episodes, but yeah, a group of episodes,
Yeah.
for my Patreons, just to make something extra for them. at least. But it's still, if you're gonna do a half an hour episode, that's at least one work day in time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.